Hi, my name's Amiliion, and I'm trying to max before the end of 2025. Last episode, I got 90 agility, which was an insane grind, but we got there. Got full black graceful, which was my kind of like pseudo goal for that as well. This episode, I want to finish off base 90s, so all three skills that I have left should be fairly quick to do. Starting off, I'm going to go with smithing. I have a pretty good portion of it banked just in gold ore for blast furnace here. And then I also still need the smith's outfit from Giant's Foundry. So that's how we're going to be finishing off getting to 90 in this video. After smithing, I think we're going to go with firemaking and then finish off with prayer. Should be fairly easy, fairly quick. So yeah, let's just get right into it. Blast Furnace is honestly a super simple training method. The only real requirements are having started the Giant Dwarf quest in order to have access to Keldegrim, and some coins to pay for use as well as ores to actually smith into bars. The Foreman requires 2500 GP every 10 minutes of use, however at 60 smithing this is no longer required. On official Blast Furnace worlds, there's an additional cost to pay for the dwarves to operate the various furnace mechanics, allowing players to simply run ore and bars between the furnace and the bank. I'm not going to go over manually operating the furnace here because frankly I don't really think it's worth it. Official worlds cost 72k GP per hour to use the furnace, and honestly you can easily make up for that GP by using the bars you make here at Giant's Foundry. A couple of nice things about using the blast furnace are that it processes an entire inventory of ores at once, and it requires only half the amount of coal that bars would normally need in order to be made. So steel bars only require 1 coal here instead of 2, mithril 2 instead of 4, adamant 3 instead of 6, and rune 4 instead of 8. One thing to note here, in order to take the bars out of the dispenser, you need either a bucket of water, ice gloves, or smith's gloves eye, which are made by infusing the ice gloves into the smith's gloves, in order to cool the bars down. I would say it's not really worth it to use buckets of water, but if you don't have access to ice gloves for some reason, then there is a spout in the room to refill buckets every trip. Now, with the goldsmith gauntlets, which you can get from Avon in the Alcarid mine after completion of the Family Crest quest, you get about 2.5x XP per gold bar smelted. Since the blast furnace processes an entire inventory at a time, having these gauntlets equipped when the bars are processed and you get that XP drop, you can get upwards of 325k smithing XP per hour. Note that you will need to swap to the ice gloves when grabbing the bars out of the dispenser and back to the goldsmith gauntlets before you get that next XP drop, or you won't get the boosted XP rates. If for some reason you're going for post 99 smithing XP, it's important to note that wearing the smithing cape acts the same as wearing the ice gloves, so you wouldn't need to switch gloves every trip. One final thing I want to note here, because ores and bars weigh a pretty decent amount, I would recommend utilizing weight reduction gear such as the graceful outfit, as well as stamina potions if you can afford them. Even after the recent run energy changes, you still run out of stamina relatively quickly, and walking can definitely hamper XP rates. Alright, and with this run coming up, come down here. There we go. That's the first level of the grind, 87 smithing. I gotta say, it feels so good having a training method that is actually quick as opposed to with agility. You know, I've gotten basically a full day's worth of agility XP in 43 minutes here. So I knew this grind was going to be quick, but man, does it feel good being this fast. I will check in at 88. And once this goes in, there's 88 smithing. That was amazing. Alright, these are my last 6 gold ore in the bank. And according to the Giant's Foundry calculator that you can find online, I should have enough adamant and mithril bars to just do the rest of the way straight to 90. I shouldn't need to make any more, but but we'll see because I know the calculator's not 100% accurate, but I think we should be good. Alright, so here we are at Giant's Foundry. If we go over and check with Kovac here, I currently have 2,136 points, and according to the calculator, I should be getting around 9,500 points, which will give me pretty much just enough, that like 11,500, that I'll need in order to get the remaining pieces of the outfit, which is really nice. I'm opting for an alloy of 18 mithril to 10 adamant bars for this, partially because it saves on adamant bars for me, and partially because I should be getting around like 300 more points than if I was just doing 14 and 14. It also saves me around like 30 minutes over the course of the grind, so 5.5 hours becomes just 5 hours, which is not too important, but I guess I'll take any time save I can get. The Giant's Foundry is located east of Al-Kharid in a cave on the Giant's Plateau. This minigame, unlocked after completion of the Sleeping Giants quest, involves utilizing various mechanisms of the Foundry in order to create swords for Kovac, the giant who watches over it. This quest is essentially just the whole process of making your first sword with the Foundry, and the basic loop doesn't really change from there. After receiving a commission from Kovac, you must set the mold to give your sword the highest score you can in one or both of the attributes of your commission. Then you fill the crucible, which takes both bars as well as weapons and armor. Note that when using weapons and armor, the bar value of the items used is reduced by 1 from the amount of bars needed to create that item. So items requiring 1 bar to create will not give any value in the crucible. Items requiring 2 bars will give 1 bar worth of value. Items requiring 3 give 2, and plate bodies, the only items requiring 5 bars, will give 4 bars worth of value. The crucible will hold 28 bars worth of metal, and the metal used determines the base score of your sword. I don't want to go completely into it here, but using alloys of 2 different metals can both give you better base scores as well as help keep your bars going longer since you're using fewer of one type of bar. Now that you have your crucible filled, you pour the molten metal into your sword mold and grab your preform to start shaping it. Quick note here, you do need either a bucket of water or ice gloves in order to grab the preform. There are 3 different mechanisms you use to shape your sword, as well as a lava pool to heat up your preform and a waterfall to cool it down. Every sword will start the same, needing to cool it down a little bit in order to use the trip hammer. Now, depending on the quality of your sword, you'll have anywhere from 3 to 7 sections needed to complete it. Again, it will always start with the trip hammer, but after that it'll be a random assortment of the hammer, the polishing wheel, and the grindstone. The hammer requires high heat and cools the preform down with every action. The polishing wheel requires low heat and also cools down the preform with every action. The grindstone requires medium heat, but this one actually heats up the preform with every action. So when starting each section, it's beneficial to have your heat close to the top of the section for the hammer and the wheel, and close to the bottom of the section for the grindstone. Note that according to the wiki, for swords with 5 sections or less, it's not possible to complete a section in one round of heating or cooling, meaning you'll have to heat or cool your preform at least once in the middle of each section. Note that if your heat is too high or low for a mechanism, or you use the wrong mechanism for a section, you will lose some sword quality. Now, a couple times per sword, there will be a golden border around the minigame UI, indicating that if you click again on your current mechanism, you'll get bonus progress on that section. If you don't click again, you'll simply gain normal progress, and if you click more than once, you'll stall your progress, essentially wasting one action cycle. Repeat these processes until your sword is finished, at which point you can turn it into Kovac for a good chunk of smithing XP, as well as some foundry points, and a decent amount of GP. Alright, turning this in, we should be at, let's get another commission, 89 smithing. One more level, just under 500k to go. Should hopefully be, oh, thanks for the GZ. Hopefully should only be about 2.5 more hours, so I think I should be able to get this today. Let's go. Now that we've gone over the basics of the minigame, I quickly want to go over the rewards. Probably the most important rewards for the minigame itself are the unlockable sword molds. Unlocking these early can be helpful since they'll increase the score of your swords, thus increasing your XP, GP, and foundry points per hour. Aside from that, There's the double ammo mold for 2,000 points, which allows you to create cannonballs twice as fast. The smithing catalyst for 15 points each, which are consumables that will make smelting bars require half the coal to make, as well as give double XP for those bars. Note that the XP doubling works at Blast Furnace, but not the coal reduction, since Blast Furnace already reduces coal needed. Next we have Kovacs Grog for 30 points each, a beer that gives a +4 smithing boost. Then we have the ore packs for 200 points each, which contain a random assortment of 30 ores, with rates depending on the level of ore. This table here shows the rates to get each ore from the pack. Next up is the Colossal Blade for 5,000 points. This is a giant two-handed sword which requires 60 attack to wield. Honestly, as far as I know, this doesn't really have many uses since it can normally be out DPS'd by faster weapons of the same tier, but it does have an interesting passive effect where its max hit increases based on the size of the monster you're fighting. Like I said, I don't really know anywhere that this is used, so if you know somewhere that this is like best in slot, feel free to leave that in the comments. Lastly here, we have the Smith's outfit. Unlike most other skilling outfits, this doesn't give a base XP increase. Instead, each piece gives a % chance to speed up smithing actions on an anvil by 1 tick, as well as a % chance to get increased progress per action in the Giant's Foundry. For both of these, each piece gives a 20% chance, with the full set giving a 100% chance. According to the wiki, equipping the full set results in about a 20% increase in XP per hour at the Foundry itself. This set is definitely the main thing I'm going for, since I already have all the molds unlocked, and for some reason my brain just wants all of the skilling outfits in this game. The last couple things I want to go over are the gear requirements and useful plugins. For gear, the only thing I would really recommend would be a pair of ice gloves. Weight reduction gear is less important here because turning in swords replenishes your run energy, so as long as you aren't running out of energy while working on one sword, you should be totally fine to fashionscape it up. Of course, if you have the Smith's outfit unlocked, go ahead and use that. As for plugins, there's also really only one that I recommend, and that's Easy Giant's Foundry. This plugin has a bunch of utility, but the ones that I find most useful are the sounds when a bonus action is ready, and the highlighting of which molds are optimal to use for a given commission. I pretty much just installed the plugin and kept it as is, but you can definitely tweak it to your liking to give yourself the best experience possible. Alright, and turning this sword in, there is 90 smithing. I gotta say, it's crazy. I was looking at my past clips. Getting from 86 to 90 agility took me 18 days. And getting from 86 to 90 smithing took me 4 days in total, I think, with really only like 2 days of active playing. So, yeah, it's been incredible. Now, let's check the shop. We actually don't have enough points to get the whole outfit. I think I just got lucky on swords, and so I didn't make as many as I was supposed to. But we can still buy... Let's get that tunic, and we can get the trousers, and then eventually I'll come back for the boots. But now, it's off to Wintertodt. Alright, and here we are at Wintertodt. I haven't done a ton of this minigame, obviously, since my firemaking is only 84, and I know a lot of Ironman will just rush 99 like at the beginning of an account. But we can look here at my collection log. So I'm missing the boots, missing Tome, and I'm missing Phoenix. I have not gotten a Dragon Axe from Wintertodt, but I don't really expect to get one. Boots would be nice. Tome would be really cool. And I mean, you know, would always love a pet. I have 116 games completed, 444 rewards pulled total. So we'll see how many games I end up doing to get to 90. I'm probably going to do a mix of like solo or small team games for points and some mass world stuff, and maybe learn like the world hopping method. From what I hear, it's not too difficult, but yeah, let's get into it. I'm sure the majority of you know how Wintertodt works, but for those of you who don't, I'll go ahead and give a little overview. The Wintertodt is a giant ice storm skilling boss located in the north of Kourend. The basic loop of the fight, if you can really even call it a fight, is incredibly simple. Just chop logs and add them to one of the braziers. If you're doing this on mass worlds, that's really the only thing you need to worry about. Each log added to the brazier gives 10 points, with the minimum number of points needed to get rewards being 500, and every additional 500 points guarantees an additional pull. This kind of works similarly to Guardians of the Rift, where you have a chance to receive extra reward pulls based on how close you are to the next 500 point milestone. You can use a knife on the logs to fletch them into kindling, which give 25 points per log instead of the base 10. Fletching logs will give more points per hour, but less firemaking XP. But generally in my experience, the extra points for extra rewards is well worth the lost XP. Other actions in the fight that will give points are using a hammer to repair broken braziers, giving 25 points and some construction XP, using a tinderbox or Wintertodt on unlit braziers to light them, giving 25 points and some firemaking XP, and using rejuvenation pools on damaged pyromancers, also giving 25 points but no XP. When on mass worlds, you generally don't need to worry about the pyromancers since someone will basically always heal them, but both other actions can be performed by multiple people at once, so always repair and relight those braziers. For gear and inventory, the only things you really need are warm clothing such as the Clue Hunter's outfit, which is fairly easily obtainable, or the Pyromancer outfit, available as rewards from Wintertodt. These are used to take less cold damage in the fight. Then an axe and either a tinderbox or a Wintertodt, which can also be pulled as a reward from Wintertodt. Optionally, a hammer and knife used to repair braziers and fletch logs respectively are highly recommended. All of these things besides warm clothing are available in the fight. However, only a bronze axe is available, so definitely bring something better than that. While in the arena, you can also grab unfinished rejuvenation potions from a crate and pick bruma herbs from outcrops along the walls around the arena. Combining these, either yourself or with the NPC Bruma, if for some reason you haven't done Druidic Ritual yet, will give you rejuvenation potions, which can be used to heal damaged pyromancers or sipped to replenish your warmth meter, which essentially acts as your health bar in the fight. If this hits 0, you will die, so be careful. There are 3 main ways you can take damage while in the fight. First, the cold will occasionally hit you for some warmth, as well as pause your action if you're fletching or feeding a brazier. This is incredibly annoying and unavoidable. However, the amount of damage taken is based on your firemaking level and how many pieces of warm clothing you're wearing, with the maximum benefit being applied at 4 articles worn. Next, there will sometimes be a 3x3 area where snow will fall, followed by piles of snow appearing on the ground, dealing damage to all players within the 3x3 radius. Simply move out of the area when the snow begins falling to avoid damage from this attack. The final way to take damage is by standing next to a brazier when it is damaged. When a large amount of snow starts to fall on the brazier, step 1 tile away to avoid all damage, then the brazier can be repaired and relit. A couple other optional pieces of gear to bring would be a hit points cape and a regen bracelet if you have them, since they affect warmth recovery here, meaning you'll need to sip rejuvenation potions less. Honestly, that's really all you need to know about the Wintertodt fight. If you're doing this on mass worlds, you essentially just do that loop until the fight is over, then wait for the next round to begin. At the end of each fight, as long as you've gained at least 500 points, you'll get your rewards pulls as well as a chunk of firemaking XP equal to your level times 100. Now, in my opinion, the best method to do Wintertodt is to world hop between mass worlds in between games, getting just enough points to get a reward before the game is over. It's a bit more intensive than just staying on one mass world, but it's significantly more XP and rewards per hour. Since XP for each action is based on your level, I can't really give exact XP per hour, but I was getting around like 370k per hour on average during this grind. For this, I would recommend the Wintertodt Scouter plugin in RuneLite, which is used to track progress on each world. As long as a world is in the green when you hop, you should have enough time to get all the points you need for your rewards before the end of the game. Here we go. That is the first level of this section, 85 Firemaking. This should be pretty quick, so let's keep going. So I did a couple hours of World Hop Wintertodt last night with my wife, And the XP was pretty good. I was averaging around 380k XP per hour. Got up to 85 and most of the way to 86. But right now, I think, let's see. So I believe I had 116 games done. So math can be hard. That's 25 games we did. It was pretty chill. Let's see how many rewards I got throughout the grind. 67. All right. So now what I want to do is just for like an hour do some solo. It's been a while since I've soloed, but I think it should still be pretty easy. Because of my agility level, I can use the shortcuts around the back of the arena to set everything up. But yeah, let's see what XP is like and points are like for just an hour of solos. Beginning a solo Wintertodt game is super straightforward, and having 60 agility or higher for the shortcut around the back of the arena makes things even easier. Simply run around and light all 4 braziers to start the fight. Once all 4 are lit, you can start chopping and fletching logs to feed into 1 brazier. The others should last long enough to get the Wintertodt energy down to around 25%. From here, you'll want to keep that energy low, around 10 to 25%, in order to reduce the number of times that you'll take cold damage. Then, you simply chop and fletch logs and feed them to the brazier, avoiding damage from breaking braziers. Once you're in this state, you're set and you can pretty much keep going as long as you want to. Alright, and just 19 minutes into our solos, there's 86 firemaking. Right now it's looking like I'm getting around 175k, 180k firemaking XP per hour, so definitely significantly worse XP per hour, but the points per hour is way more. I mean, 20 minutes in and I'm already at 5,600, almost 5,700 points. So yeah, I'm excited to see how many rewards pulls we're going to have by the end of this 1 hour session. Alright, we're at 56 minutes in. I think I'm just going to start the process of ending the game now, and we'll see how many points we end up getting. To end the game, you basically do the same thing you did to start it. Run around the arena, healing pyromancers and repairing and lighting braziers. You may need to do a few laps, but the ending is fairly quick and gives you a decent amount of points too. And there's a completed game. We got 41 rewards and a total of 200k XP, so about 200k XP per hour. I think just with the added XP of lighting all the braziers at the end, it gives you some extra. But I still think that I'm going to do the world hop method going forward. Hopefully shouldn't take too long to get from 86 to 90, but we'll see. Oh, I think... There we go, 91 fletching. I wasn't necessarily expecting to get this level on this grind, but I'll take it. Here, I wanted to quickly go over the rewards from Wintertodt. The bulk of your rewards will come in the form of GP and raw supplies like fish, seeds, herbs, logs, etc. These supplies are based on your various levels, so you should be getting things that are pretty relevant to wherever your account is at when you pull rewards. As for uniques, first we have the Pyromancer set, each piece of which gives a Firemaking XP bonus, with the full set giving a plus 2.5% XP boost. This set also acts as warm clothing. The boots from here are the main thing that I'm going for in this grind, since I don't have them yet, and like I've said a ton of times, I have this weird disease in my brain where I have to get all of the skilling outfits in this game. Then we have the Bruma Torch, which acts as a wieldable tinderbox and light source, as well as a piece of warm clothing. This is especially useful within Wintertodt itself in order to save inventory space for more logs. By right-clicking one of these torches, you can swap the hand with which you carry it, meaning you can equip both a torch and an axe at the same time. Next, we have the warm gloves, which simply act as warm clothing. After that, we have the Tome of Fire, which is an offhand mage book, which you charge with burnt pages, also coming from rewards pulls. This tome acts as unlimited fire runes and also gives a 10% damage buff with fire spells on the normal spellbook. Again, this also counts as warm clothing. Note that extras of the tomes, gloves, torches, and pyromancer pieces can be turned in for extra loot rolls or 50 burnt pages each. The last two items are extremely rare, being the Pet Phoenix at a rate of 1 in 5,000 and the Dragon Axe at a rate of 1 in 10,000. Like I said at the beginning, I don't really expect to get either of these, but getting a pet would definitely be incredible. $87. I completely missed it, but there we go. Cool. I'm going to finish this game and go to bed, and tomorrow I'm thinking probably get 88, maybe 89 as well, depending on how busy I am, but yeah. There's 88 Firemaking. Let me tell you, the XP per hour doing this World Hop method is significantly better. I'm currently, with like kind of half focus, I would say, getting around like 345k XP an hour. I've gotten up to somewhere around like 365k XP per hour. So it's pretty nice. Hopefully these last two levels won't take too long. We'll see when we get to 89. $89 Firemaking. Didn't take too long. Looks like 89 to 90 should probably be around an hour and a half or so. Doing the topping method, I'm getting around like 375k XP per hour right now, so yeah, shouldn't be too much longer. We keep going. And with this here, there's finally 90 Firemaking. I'm just gonna finish up this game, and then it's time to cash in all of the points that we have. Alright, game just finished. Look here in the collection log. So I'm still missing the boots, and then of course the tome and the pet, and technically Dragon Axe since I haven't gotten one from here. Let's open that up one more time. So 228 games is what we finished at, and we look here, 313 rewards to pull from the chest. I'll bank this stuff and let's get to it. Alright, let's go. Oh, I got the pet! No way. That's crazy. Well, I take that, I guess. Nice. Let's see what else we get. And we got the boots! Finally! Oh my goodness, it took so long. Now we just see if we can get the tome. No tome, but we walk away with a pet, which is incredible, and we finish the outfit, which is super nice. Now we just need to figure out what we're gonna do for 90 prayer. Awesome. Alright, so here we are at the Tiamat, and I believe, if I understand correctly, beautiful. So we can bless our bones here, and then chisel them on the way down into our bone shards. And this NPC here will exchange our banknotes back into bones, and we can just do this according to the calculator on RuneLite and a little bit of calculations on my own. These bones that I have in my inventory here should be enough to get me to 90 with the bone shards they'll give me. And then once I have these blessed and chiseled down, I believe then I just need to start farming wave 1 of the Colosseum to get the Sunfire Splinters I need for all the wines that I'll need. I should need, if my calculations are right, I believe, I think it's 1,300 Sunfire Splinters, so I'll need to do wave 1 13 times. According to the guide that I've seen, it shouldn't be too hard. It seems like wave 1 is pretty simple to do, especially, you know, doing over and over again. But only 13 times shouldn't be too bad. Also, won't burn through too many of my wave completions for whenever I eventually decide to learn Colosseum, actually. Because I know you have, I believe it's 100 wave completions before your deaths start costing a bunch of money. So, shouldn't burn through too many of those. But, yeah, hopefully this shouldn't take too long getting all of these bones chiseled. I've already chiseled all of the Sunkissed bones that I had in my bank from the Hunter's Rumors that I did. So that's why I had a bunch of starting shards, but hopefully all of these bones should get us to the, I believe it's 261,000 or so bone shards that we need. So yeah, let's see how long this takes. So I wanted to talk a little bit about why I opted for this method for training prayer as opposed to doing the Wildy altar. And really it came down to two things. One, it was something new for me to learn, and I got to learn a little bit of Wave 1 Colosseum along the way, which was nice. And two, it's just a lot more chill than Wildy Altar. I know that I'm not getting as much XP as I would if I were doing Wildy Altar, but this was more than enough for me, and with the bones that I had banked, this was only a small dent in all of that in order to get to 90. Right, and these are going to be the last of the Dagonoth bones. That was like 550 or so of those, which means I have to do this like 3 more times to get all of the Hydra bones that I need to use for this. But that didn't take too long doing those 500, so hopefully these Hydra bones don't take too much longer either. I don't really feel like this section of the video warrants a guide because this method is so straightforward, but I do just want to say that I really appreciate that something like this is in the game. I think that having variety in how you train your skills is really important so that you can kind of bounce around on different content, and I feel like this method is a nice middle ground for prayer where you're still getting a lot of XP and you're definitely getting a lot of XP quickly, but the amount of XP that you're getting per bone is still not insane compared to, you know, something like the Wildy altar, so there's still a benefit of going to the Wildy altar, but having something like this in the game is definitely nice for when you want to do something more chill than Wildy altar and not quite as boring as something like Ectofunctus or something like that. Plus, for irons, I think that it's nice to have something that gives you an incentive to kind of get your feet wet in Colosseum a little bit, since I know that a lot of people probably wouldn't even think about doing Colosseum until they're, you know, really far along in their account. And I'm definitely in the place where I'm thinking about starting a Colosseum grind, trying to get my quiver. But even if I wasn't, I think that farming wave 1s is so easy to learn that it really makes that content approachable for a lot of people. Alright, and this is the last inventory of bones. This should put me at the 261k that I need. Yep. Awesome. It looks like it took me just about 20 minutes to do all 1,400 of those, so not too bad. Now it's time to go learn Wave 1 of the Colosseum. Alright, so here we are at the Colosseum. I made a little bit of a miscalculation because I thought that the Wave 1 farm gave you 100 splinters per run, but it's actually 80. So realistically, I'll need to do about 17 Wave 1s, but still shouldn't be too bad. I've watched like a very short guide video on how to do this wave. Doesn't look too difficult, but I figure let's just jump into it and see how we do. Alright, so this first Wave 1 completion, I was definitely messing up. I had already watched a guide, so I kind of knew what to expect going in, but I definitely made a pretty big mistake, so let me know if you guys can see it. Alright, that was a little rougher than I was expecting, but I think if I just switch this up a little bit, I should be good to go. So let me do that real quick. I did not, in fact, switch it up a little bit for these next two completions. There's still a pretty big, pretty obvious thing that I'm messing up with this gear setup here, and I really don't know how I missed it, but after these two completions, I did figure it out and I did switch it up. Okay, so I just finished my third Wave 1 completion. I was in the bank trying to switch gear around for, faster completion times. And I realized that I am a massive idiot because for some reason I was bringing in a glove switch while using full void. And for those of you who don't know, you don't get the set effect from void unless you're wearing the full set, including the gloves. So when I was swapping to my Tormented Bracelet for Mage, I was losing out on a whole plus 45% magic accuracy and plus 5% magic damage. I honestly feel like the dumbest person alive right now, but hopefully fixing this will help out my completion times a bit. Yeah, so not having the void gloves on while using Mage definitely explains why I was feeling so inaccurate barraging the Firemaking at the beginning of the waves, but making that switch definitely helped to speed up my completions by a pretty decent margin. However, after my 8th completion, I kind of realized that the only reason I was using void in the first place was to save inventory space, and you don't really need a whole lot of food or potions if your wave completions are quick. So from completions 9 on, I swapped over to almost a full gear switch for Mage and Range. This was actually super helpful, and on my 11th completion, I realized that I didn't even really need the strategy that I had seen in the video I watched, since I didn't need to set myself up for future waves. So I started just instantly barraging the Firemaking from my starting tile, and on completion 12, I actually had the first wave with no Jaguar Warrior spawning, which was huge for me. Only 3 waves left to go, I believe, but with this setup here, I need to change it up a little bit, but with this setup, I've been getting pretty decent wave times. I've been able to get a few where the Jaguar guy doesn't even spawn, which is nice, but we're almost done here, and then we should be able to just go make all the wines we need. One last thing I want to say for this section, just farming these Wave 1 completions really made me excited to get learning the Colosseum eventually. I know that it gets way, way harder than this, but learning new content is always a lot of fun for me, and dipping my toes in even just a little bit really lit a fire in me to want to learn not only this, but also the Inferno, since those two pieces of content are generally regarded as some of the hardest in the game. So those may be goals that I end up chasing on my way to max. We'll see. Alright, and with this chest, that should be all of the splinters that we need. Now just making the wines and then sacrificing them. Hopefully the sacrificing process shouldn't be too long. I think it's effectively like 800k XP an hour or something, but I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Alright, here we are. I believe I have everything I need. So I just bless these jugs. And then I think I just have to spam click this pool over here, use up all of these jugs. Right, and now that we've done that, we can probably charge our prayer again. Unnote our wines here. Oh, mind? Won't unnote wine. Alright, I think this setup should be a bit better then if I can't exchange my noted wines with that guy. Then this way I can pretty much just instantly teleport to a bank and then get back here with the whistle teleport as well. And there's 87. That took like no time at all, especially with just figuring out how the inventory should be and everything. Right now it looks like while we're here, we're getting around 990,000 XP per hour or so. So doing pretty good. No complaints so far. This is definitely a lot more chill than doing the wilderness method, just, you know, not needing to worry about PKers and constantly going back to bank and grab bones and everything. Hopefully 87 to 88 should be relatively quick as well, and let's see. And there's 88. This is insanely quick. I'm currently sitting at 1.06 million XP per hour. So it should be about 25 minutes to 89. This setup with the imbued lyre is actually so nice because I just go straight to a bank, and thanks to Graceful plus the run energy changes, I have needed one stam dose, I think, so far. But generally your run energy stays pretty good throughout the whole thing. Especially with, you know, how much you're sitting in one place while you're actually sacrificing to the pool. So, yeah, we keep going. Hopefully this next level comes in quick. I totally missed 89, but there we go. Took like no time at all. Again, we're sitting at 1.085 million XP per hour right now. And 490k XP until 90. I will say it is so nice having a skill that is this fast after everything else. You know, smithing was really fast, which was nice, but this is insane. And, you know, it's really nice to be able to see that the goal is just around the corner, and I can't wait to get to everything else that I have planned for after. But yeah, about 25 more minutes of this, and then we'll be done. All right. One last sacrifice. There we go, 90 prayer. Took an hour and a half total to get from 86 to 90 once I had all the supplies. Ending at 1.065 million XP per hour. That is base 90s completely done, ending at 2136 total level. Let me tell you, it feels good seeing all of my stats being at least level 90. Alright, and there we have it. Base 90s is completed. In total, these last skills took me just about 10 days to complete, even with some days of not playing in there. And combined, I gained over 5 million XP in that time, going from 2121 total to 2136. It's crazy to think that this is the closest I've ever been to maxing, and it'll really only get closer and closer from here. I don't think I've ever been so motivated to work towards a goal in this game. I'm insanely excited for what the future holds, not only for this account, but also for this YouTube channel. I want to say a huge thank you to all of you for watching, and if you've made it this far, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. I don't really know or care all that much how the algorithm on this site works, but knowing that people enjoy these videos means a lot to me, and liking and subscribing are a great way to let me know. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.